Welcome back. Yesterday we saw what played out at the peace accord that happened in Benin City, the state capital, by the National Peace Committee. The PDP did not sign for reasons they've stated because they don't feel confident in the police and all of that. And we hope that all of that will be sorted out so that the playing field will be leveled for everyone. But most of the time we talk about the PDP, the APC, and the Labour Party. But we have about 16 persons looking for that job, gunning for that job to ensure they get it on September the 21st. So today, we've decided to converge right here on the program, 4 of the candidates to talk to us about exactly what they will do differently if they succeed Godwin Obaseki on September the 21st, which is just 1 week away. We've been joined first on the program by the only female contestant in this election in Edo State, Patience Ndidio Foroke. She's the governorship candidate of People's Redemption Party. She joins us via Zoom from Benin City. Osereme Edeope, governorship candidate of Boot Party, as well as Dr. Azena Azeme, governorship candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party, that's NNPP, and Mr. Paul Okungbowa, governorship candidate of the Young Progressives Party. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Let's see how much time we have to accommodate all the thoughts. So let's begin with a feeler from all of you as to what played out yesterday. Your impression of the peace accord yesterday and what you saw play out. Let's start with the lady first.
Thank you for having me here. Good morning. Yeah, yesterday was interesting. It's a good thing to envisage peace or want peace in an election, whether before, during, and after the election. We all signed it, with the exception of People's Democratic Party, and they have their reason for not signing the peace accord. But what the majority is saying is it's good for us to sign the peace, but it's also will be a collaborative and a good thing for those who's bringing the peace accord to us to also want to maintain peace. And if there's anything like violation, they should also look into it. We love peace. We want to see peace in our state. We want to. We don't want people to suffer or be maimed or be beaten up or be killed because they want to vote and have a leader. So my party signed, PROP, People's Redemption Party. I am my chairman. We went and we signed. It's a good thing to do that, but it's not just on the side of the candidates. We also want the government institutions to also respect and obey, what they ask us to do and also follow suit. So I'm excited it happened, but we want a collaborative effort so we can see a better Edo State and a better Nigeria.
Let's take it to Mr. Adekwa, your impression and whether this really works at the end of the day. If you're concerned, if you have concerns about insecurity that may play out, and I'm going to throw that question to the rest of you gentlemen.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me on the show. Actually, I was at the event and I did sign, but it was strictly due to the deep respect I have for the person of General Abdulsalam Abubakar, Bishop Kuka, and the persons that constitute that put together the peace accord. But the truth is, you can't beat a child and you don't expect the child to cry. I believe that the PDP have genuine reasons to express their displeasure. And the best way for them to do so is through not signing. By not signing, and I think it's something that the entire nation should look at. Because a day before the signing took place, they did complain openly that a good number of their members were abducted. Let me use the word abduct, because for you to come to somebody's house by 2 a.m., you pick the person without telling the wife where you're taking the person to, and you just bundle the person and you take the person to Abuja. Until now, after more than 2 weeks, the person has not been charged to court. That is not constitutional. It's not right. So I believe that the PDP have a very good reason to cry out, and the whole nation should please look at it. Because if we're talking about peace, but the ingredient for peace are lacking, then it shows that we are not really working out, we don't really intend to have peace. But I seriously pray that these elections will be peaceful, and all hands should be on deck to ensure that whosoever is aggrieved, serious efforts should be made to look at what the person is complaining about. That is the proper thing to do.
All right, let's take it to Dr. Zena. Your quick thoughts on this particular one, and immediately after that, Mr. Paul, you can respond so we can get to some substance in the conversation.
Thank you very much. I want to say, though I was not there yesterday, my party chairman was there, and my deputy was also there. I so much believe in peace. I'm a man of peace. I've actually preached peace, being a pastor and being who I am. I believe so much in peace. But I would like to say a few things about when peace must reign, justice, equity must be enforced. You can't be telling people to sign peace accord when there is already intimidation, harassment, molestation, and all that. To me, if you want peace to reign, justice should be done. Like the last speaker said, my brother there, Osarime, you cannot be violating the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria by arresting people until after 24 hours. What the Constitution stated is 48 hours at most. Such a person should be charged to court. If indeed you want peace to reign, let's follow the Constitution. And if someone is arrested, it should be taken to court and let the judiciary do the needful. So to me, it's just a ceremonial activity for we to come together to say peace accord to be signed. But I believe in peace, but that the ceremonial aspect of it is where I have my reservation. Okay. So do the right thing, justice should be implemented, and peace will definitely reign.
Okay, let's take Mr. Paul's thoughts, and then my colleagues will ask their questions.
Thank you so very much for having me. First of all, I'd like to say that worry is the interest of those who borrow trouble. I signed the peace accord without hesitation because I do not have the propensity for violence or anarchy, and I do not even have the mental strength or the talk of the resources for it. But you see, there are two major political parties in Edo State who have been renowned for electoral violence, who have been renowned for voter suppression, and this is not a hidden fact. In the last House of Assembly election here in Edo State, the governor of Edo State wrote results, enforced it, and shoved it down the throat of other contestants. And there were a lot of shootings, a lot of maimings, and a lot of voter suppression and repression. And right now, for you to begin to cry wolf means that you have seen that your game is about to be toppled. It is sad, particularly, that these parties have the resources and they have the manpower and they have the people to create this anarchy. And so for folks like us, we have no hesitation to sign the peace accord, and we are not making case for anybody. I am not here to speak on behalf of those who perhaps feel the need not to sign the peace accord. If you say you must come to equity, you must come with clean hands. Signing the peace accord doesn't necessarily mean that I'm in tandem with the political reality, or that I accept just now that the process will be laced with freedom. It will be such that people can go to the polls and just vote simply, quietly, and live there. No, the reality on ground is that we know that this election is not going to be a fall short from the previous elections that have been, awash with violence. And we are a situation wherein the highest violator of our electoral process and the highest rigor or the highest oppressor or the most potent one possibly will be declared by INEC, and the next language will be go to court. And when you go to court, you meet the masters of the courtroom. We don't have that confidence. But what we do know is this, that signing the peace accord was essential. It was an essential declaration of your true nature and your intention. If you do not have propensity for violence, you will sign the peace accord. Because I have it in good authority that both parties, both the APC and the PDP, are seriously ready with violence to mar the process. I particularly know of a hotel in GRA. This is not like a spurious claim. I know of a hotel in GRA where they have housed boys. And I have made a case before now that if the Nigerian police does not prescribe the ESN in Edo State, that will be the domestic police that will be used to cause mayhem by the ruling party of Edo State. And at the same time, if the police themselves are not checked, the police will now also be constituting the possibility of them being used to constitute mayhem in our polling units, in our polling centers, wards, and local governments. These are the political realities of today, and it is absolutely, it will be a disservice to my person to shy away from it and or to be afraid to make allusions as to this reality.
Okay, so let's get into the subject matter proper now, which would be your vision for the transformation of the fortunes of Edo State. And to kickstart that conversation, I'd like us to look at local government administration. This administration, perhaps in recognition of the fact that development at the grassroots can only be achieved if local governments are empowered, approached the court, and the Supreme Court ruled that henceforth funds should be transferred directly to the accounts of local governments. Now, there are still worries that the executives, as the state governors, can still use the instrumentality of the state assemblies and control of state CX, to control somehow, perhaps indirectly, funds of the local governments. Now, I'd like you to take this question one by one. If you were elected as governor of Edo State, would you allow, indeed, in theory and in practice, the autonomy, the financial autonomy of local governments by allowing local government chairmen the independence of managing the funds for local government administration? I want to start with you, the governorship candidate of the People's Redemption Party, Mrs. Ndidi.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that is where division of labor comes in. That is where autonomy is given to where autonomy has to be. Definitely, I will allow the local government to do their job. Resources to go direct to them. Most importantly, that they do their job. There will be no need for the state government to have the funds, and there will be no need for that. So there's division of labor. The resources should be given to those that need them because they are closer to the grassroots. But then there's also going to be evaluations. There's going to be monitoring. Eyes are going to be, under the general development of the states, even if money is directed to the local government, So yes, definitely, I will want them to have the resources that is needed to be able to do their job. Mine also is going to be, my position is going to be that of a support system for them, encourage them all the resources that is needed, whether it's what comes from the central government or what comes from the state government. I'm going to give that support to the local government to make sure they succeed, in meeting the needs of the grassroots, meeting the needs of our people that are closer to them. So yes, they will have the resources to do their job, whether it comes from the central, and also I will stand as a support system for them to succeed.
All right, thank you. So I will take this now to the candidate of the Young Progressives Party, Dr. Paul Okungbowa.
Title is actually reserved for Dr. Azena. I think he's the only doctor here. I'm an ordinary person without a title. You see, one of the reality here is this. We know exactly what to do. And yet the hypocrisy of not enforcing or not doing is spread across board. Now, for 3 years, I consistently used local television here in Edo State to advocate for local government financial autonomy. Because I understand the power that if the wealth of the people doesn't transcend to the grassroots, then every other thing is politics as usual. I also know that when men and women get into governance, like being a governor, the whole idea should have been to create wealth. And because there is no manual for leadership or for governance, there is no textbook where you say, we have gone to college of how to lead, wherein Dr. Azena is a leader here right now because he is a doctor and likes of us could not pass the exam. So naturally should subsist to ideas. And without actionable, provable, doable ideas, it will just be as usual, politics of discussion. Governors are in the habitual and perpetual habit of borrowing spuriously and spending same. And at the end, it plunged generations unborn into debt. I have always said, granting local government financial autonomy is not something that I'm going to say I will do just now because the federal government had won a case in the Supreme Court for that. It's something that I've been advocating for. But here's the reality. As I speak to you in Edo State, there is a marching order for local governments to return 60% back to state governors. It is happening in Edo State. And with local government financial autonomy granted, our elections are now going to be marred with more violence and confraternities at local government level. Because right now, there is money in local governments. But then again, we will not be having cases of godfathers now creating measures of control for those that they want to make a local government chairman and women because they must make returns back to the center. And I have said that when you do local government, when you accentuate the policies of local government financial autonomy, you should either go with a commission to conduct local government elections from INEC. It is not that we trust that INEC will not do the unthinkable, but it will limit such powers where in-state electoral commissions can just write results and tell the next persons go to court. A situation that has been vastly inherent in Edo State in previous elections as far as local government is concerned. But here is the case. Anybody who wants to actually lead the people should confess straight to the people. You either have the ideas to create wealth at the center without leveraging on IGRO and federal allocations. It's important that you take federal allocations to solve problems, yes, but it is also important that you generate wealth via taxation. Yes, I agree. Right. But you see, when you create avenues to generate wealth, the tag of the office of the governor is not just enough for you to sit down and be called your excellency. It is that you have excellent ideas that could transmogrify into reality and make people happy, right, and make life a little bit less punitive for the people. And what I've always said is granting local government financial autonomy is sacrosanct because not only are we willing to grant local government financial autonomy, we have the capacity to create wealth with Edo State. We have issued our statements and made them in video forms and put them all over.
Let me comment quickly. You made quite an interesting point, and I know that naturally the other candidates want to speak about local government autonomy. Well, clearly, we've not seen it in full swing yet, at least across the state. It's still at early stages, but I'll just give them a moment to speak on their thinking regarding local government autonomy, particularly because on the one hand, a lot of people might see this conversation as an academic exercise. They always focus on the PDP, the APC, the Labour Party, which some have called the Big Three, but you are candidates on that ballot. Your party's logo will be as prominent as the logo of those other parties. So all of these policy ideas are equally important. So I'll come to you, Dr. Azeme, since you were mentioned earlier. You are quite popular, a televangelist in Edo State. So a lot of people are still trying to wonder, why are you going into politics in the first place? Your influence in religion isn't that enough. So you might add that to your thinking regarding local government autonomy. What would be that changing factor, that game changer for you?
Thank you very much. I would like to say I believe so much on local government autonomy to be granted, and I have agitated for it for many years. But I have some reservation when it comes to the local government autonomy. First and foremost, okay, before I go into that, the problem that we have in our country today, in Nigeria, is because the government is far from the people. And the essence of creating local government is to bring the governance close to the people. But that has not been done for the period of many years. From 25 years to date, I can tell you that local government have not been existing. It has just been the extension of the state government to the people, which is very far from them. Now, my reservation is this. The financial autonomy being granted to the local government, it's just an approval for many thieves to emerge. The money of the local government is being stolen by one place before, one position, one in quotes, one person in the name of state governor or whatsoever. But presently now, we are going to have many thieves that to catch them or to investigate them will be a problem. If corruption cannot be dealt with in Nigeria, financial autonomy to local government is a waste of effort. If the state governors can embezzle the local government money and they will go away with it, is it the local government chairman that will not do so? Secondly, the state can also have this money back from the local government because they are the one making these persons local government chairman. They are the one conducting the election. So when the election is coming, it's just for you to look for your boy, what they will do, and make the person the local government chairman, and the person will be returning the money indirectly. So the money will come to the federal allocation post directly to the local government. But the godfather or the state governor who appointed, I call it appointment because there have never been an election, especially in my state. So the money will still be returned back. That is on the local government. To me, I'm not celebrating anything that it has been granted. If there are no principles and laws implemented to monitor and to supervise how those money will be spent, to me, I'm not celebrating anything at all. I'm only worried that many thieves will emerge. Instead of tackling one thief, you will now have like 80 thieves in the state. So, and it will be easier to catch one thief than to catch 80 thieves. So that is my observation. Now, concerning my...
Let me take that to, we'll come back to those points you want to make, but I want Mr. Depo to also speak to this one quickly so we can touch on other developmental issues in Edo State, particularly the ones that are pressing, the very present challenges. So Mr. Depo, in addition to your response about local government autonomy briefly, I'd like you to speak to if you had to fix one thing, right, in Edo State, that's if you're elected governor, what would that one thing be? What do you think? I imagine you've spoken to people. So what is top on the priority list of people in terms of developmental indices that you want to fix? So quickly on the local government autonomy bit, which I think we have exhausted, and then let's talk developmental issues now.
Well, I'm quite excited with the way Dr. Zenema just ended his talk that instead of pursuing one thief, we now have about 18 of them. And that's actually, sadly, the position with local government. Actually, I'm also not just the candidate, but also the chairman of the Good Party in Edo State. And to be very candid, I took part in the last gubernatorial election, but I can tell you for free, it was a far cry from what we imagined. People have lost serious confidence in ETSEC and all these state-owned bodies that are set up to conduct local government elections because they are simply the rubber stamp of the governor of the government of the day. In a scenario where you have 18 local governments in Edo State, and when it was APC, it's 18 over 18 APC. Now that it's PDP, it's 18 over 18 PDP. It shows you that there is no credibility. So if there must be an independent body for the conduct of the elections. That's number one. Number two, what happens at the states that we are crying about? That is somebody is giving public fund, the person steals it to stupor, and nobody questions him. He goes out. Somebody that you knew that from the day he was born till the day he left office, if you put together the resources that ever passed through his hand, calculate everything, is not enough. It's not up to 1/4 of the house he built in his house, in one of the buildings he has. Then it's a shame. Now we still have government bodies like ICPC and EFCC, and they just do selective prosecution, which shouldn't be. So if we must get local government right, then we must put in measures, not just to checkmate the local government chairman, but also to checkmate the state governors, as we see being done in countries like Japan, China, where they consider somebody that stole from the public a bigger criminal than somebody that carries the gun to rob from house, because the person that steals from the government has robbed everybody, while this person that stole just robbed a few people. So more stricter measures should be made to checkmate those that steal our public common fund. Now, back to the second question you asked. If I were to be the governor, if I was elected the governor of Edo State, what will I do? There are I have a campaign agenda that I titled Elevate Edo. And each of those words in Elevate Edo has a meaning. But if I'm to break it down in two major, if I'm to break it down because of time, the two things I will do is the first word in that Elevate Edo means efficacious electricity. I have a background in engineering and also in English. So I can tell you for free that for electricity to get to your doorpost, it has three major sections: generation, transmission, and distribution. Now, I wrote a book many years back that I titled To Serve Nigeria is Not by Force. And one of the chapters in that book is on power. And I did a comparative study of the 10 most populous countries in this world, and Nigeria is number 7. And by every ramification, Nigeria is the poorest. I got that out from CIA reports on each of these nations. And it is a shame that even somebody in Nigeria at that time only have access to 122 kilowatt electricity, while somebody that is in Bangladesh gets about 333, which is not even that. Somebody in Nigeria does not have enough, half of that one in Bangladesh. But I can tell you, somebody in America has 11,900 kilowatt per hour. So just imagine the magic.
If I may bottom, Mr. Adepo, if you can hear me.
It's something that I'm going to take very seriously. And good enough, autonomy has been given to state government to create electricity, because more than 50% of our problem.
All right, Mr. Adepo, I wanted you to land on your thought as quickly as possible so we can take orders. So, gentlemen and ladies, so because of how many we are, we need to be brief with our answers so we can take as many issues as possible. But we'll take a quick break. When we come back, there are critical questions you will need to answer. And this is a simple guidance for you. The fact that you will answer these questions as, hoping that you win the election. So there's no blame game. It's what you will do for the people of Edo State if you eventually emerge as the governor of the state. We'll be right back after this break. Join us again. Welcome back. We see how the 4 candidates from one from PRP, Patience Ndidioke Ofruke, Osareme Dekpo from the Boot Party, as well as Dr. Azena Azeme of the NNPP, and we also have Paul Okongboa from the Young Progressive Party. Gentlemen and lady, thank you. Let me come to you, madam from the PRP. We noticed that for some of these, for parties like yours, for instance, it's when elections are close by that we see, because we don't see you engage the party in power in terms of their policy and all of that. We're wondering, why is this the situation? And which is why some people say in the elections, some people are contenders and pretenders. Maybe you have to respond to that. Why these parties sometimes show up only around election rounds, But more importantly, the question I want to ask you is, what has Obaseki done wrong that you think you can fix, and how quickly you can do it?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. In regards to parties not showing up, and we think they only show up during election period, I would say that means people have not been reading from PRP, because on the national board, we write a lot. We focus on what the central government, the federal government is doing. We reach out to them in regard to a lot of things, and so the party has been really working. In the states, of course, I believe in the states, the party can also do better. But on the federal, on the national, they are up and running. They are always, in the news and doing what they need to do. Regards to your question, I believe anyone who comes into this kind of space, it's because they see that we have challenges that need solution. If Obaseki has done good, if the previous administration before him also has done good, I believe the state will be moving forward. All I see in Edo State is retrogression and regression, because I was born in this state. I was born in Benin City. I grew up, my primary education and secondary was in Benin City. My university, before I relocated to the United States, I schooled in Ambrosali University, so I know my environment. All I see is retrogression. There's a lot to do. There's everything to be done. Is it in agriculture? Is it the road system? Is it our drainage? Is it the businesses that are not growing or not surviving? Is it the healthcare system? Is it our education? Everything can cranny.
Ms. Patience, just a minute so that we can give some focus to it. So how many kilometers of road? Let's talk about roads. How many kilometers? Because people complain about roads. How many kilometers of roads does Edo have? And what's the percentage of the state roads against the federal roads? With the budget, with the debts of about almost 500 billion naira, how do you intend to fix that?
I don't have a figure of how many kilometers of road has been done. All I see is that a lot of road is really bad. A lot of road, especially in the GRA area. Why I'm focusing on the GRA is because when you call GRA, everybody feels, oh, you're going to a very prominent area, but now it looks like it's the worst part of Benin City. Then if that area is worse, then what do you say about other areas? Talking about the federal road, I know we have a sign somewhere, saying that, oh, bear with us, these are federal roads. Forgetting about the federal roads, what about the local roads, those roads that belong to us? So, and also there's things you can do, working things out with the federal government to fix the roads that, connect to your state, because it's the human beings, the businesses that live that are in your state that applies those roads and all that. So all those things need to be fixed. And that's what I'm coming to fix. I don't know.
All right, let's take it to Mr. Paul. Maybe Mr. Paul, you give us a specific answer. About 9 kilometers of road, most of them federal roads. My question actually to Madam Ndidi is basically, how do you intend to do this? You have a budget a debt profile of over 500 billion naira. So that's on one hand hanging on your shoulder. So I want you guys to speak like you're the governor. What will you do? How will you get it done? Because if you're accused of Basiki of not fixing the road for 8 years, what would you do differently?
First of all, I'm concerned with the debt profile you quoted just now. It is not something that we are not familiar with. But I ask myself, if you borrow and perhaps you want to do projects with borrowing, the whole idea of borrowing for me is to solve problems or perhaps to create wealth with it. I think if we have this staggering amount of debt, it means that we've had access to fundings, whether it was borrowed, whether it was federal allocations, whether it was internally generated. It is the implementation that is of a huge concern to me. And I have always said that when we look into very obsolete means of getting things done, it's like doing things the same way, expecting a different result. I worked on a research one time where I could use plastic weights mixed with a little quantity of dust granite to tar roads, and it's durable. I have experimented it in my own house. And I feel like if we take certain ideas out of the box and use governments to drive them, to some it may be seeming like we're trying to experiment. No, we're not experimenting. Some of this technology are already obtainable in some parts of Africa. And I feel like it is that our leadership, men and women, always find copious statistics in terms of how much or the volume of cash that is deployed for road constructions as a means of masturbating the people's commonwealth. One, I feel like if I could explore other means of tying roads, because with plastic mixed with dust granites and with the appropriate mixtures that I came up with, it wasn't my discovery. I found young guys who were doing this. So I took them to my place to do experiments on it, and they even created interlocking ties on my compound with it. It's very durable, such that the plastic itself provides some sort of insulation. And with the mixture they created, I told them, why didn't you take this thing to government? The young man told me that he has written several proposals to government, but all to no avail. Because what they did for me has been in my compound for the past 6 years, and it has not really depreciated as much as the concrete tarred roads that we see sometimes across our city, because they are using concrete and roads now to tar roads to make roads in some of our cities. So while I'm not going to concern myself as to the number of kilometers, because I don't have such data, because I'm not in government space yet, I'm yet to learn of a lot of things. What I do have is the will to do the right thing and the ideas to diversify means to getting the right things done. So if I create a belt of thinkers and we're asking for ways to get things done, when we appropriate the revenue of the people without masturbating same, I believe we'll be able to cover more grounds instead of crying wolf as to the debt created and where we intend to generate the money to do more. Nonetheless, I have also documented as part of my manifesto, which I did not actually comfortably write out, but I put them in video forms on social media. I didn't have the resources to come to channels and other big stations. But I've been discussing on our local radios and local television programs here that on healthcare, we can create wealth with it. Not only are we willing to solve it, but when we create wealth with it, we can deploy same into infrastructural upgrade. On education, I'm after ways we can create wealth with education. Not only create the wealth, sustain some level of employability within our young savvy minds, and then use the same wealth created to go into critical infrastructural upgrade. I have also discussed the vast wealth that we can create from agriculture, something I discussed with the Oba of Benin, and he gave me a pass and even gave me his title, his name, and said wherever I go, I should tell them he sent me to go because I needed government policies to push same. I've demonstrated how we can create so much wealth from agriculture. So when we create such wealth, without leveraging on IGR and federal locations, we've itemized ways we can create wealth. When we create and mop in this wealth, then I believe infrastructural upgrade vis-a-vis road constructions, even bridges, and linking urban cities to rural cities, where you bridge the gap of wastage between the farms and the consumers in the urban
Let's manage
settings.
our time now, Mr. Idepo, and go to other candidates. Let's look at unemployment in Edo State, which is hovering somewhere around 19%. It could be higher or maybe a little lower, depending on the most recent figure from the NBS. I'd like you to, I'm coming to you now, Dr. Azena, articulate your program, your blueprint for the transformation of Edo State by also, with that opportunity, convincing the young Edo voter about how you plan to deploy your innovation, your wealth of experience to transforming their fortunes and creating jobs and wealth such that you stem the tide in rural-urban migration, particularly out of Edo State to major capital cities.
Thank you very much. I have been a man that have been creating jobs even right here in Edo State. Presently now, I can tell you that I have not less than 300 persons who have created jobs that I pay monthly. If as an individual and a young man that I am, that I can create jobs, over 300 persons are being paid monthly in my various establishments, companies, and so on and so forth, you will agree with me that whatsoever I'm going to tell you on this platform is going to be a way of expanding what I have been doing in the time past. First and foremost, we are going to check why the unemployment in Edo State. Firstly, you will discover that there is no longer industries, companies owned by the state. When Edo State was in charge, or when there was bedded cement factory located at Okbela, there was a flour mill located at Ewu, there was a bedded brewery in Benin, and many other companies. There was no unemployment compared to what we have today. But all these companies, including Edo Line, they are folded up and they have disappeared out of our state. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that many companies owned by the state are established. We are not going to go back to revive bedded cement factory. That is not no-go area. You cannot go to flour mill. You cannot go to bedded brewery. You cannot go to Edo Line. But we are going to create new companies, not depending on the private companies to pay tax to boost the economy of the state. No, we are going to go into companies controlled by the state government. That is the first. Secondly, we are going to put effort in agriculture because we are talking about people migrating from rural area to the urban area. The reason why people are migrating is because agriculture has been neglected. A lot of people in the rural areas were sustained, or they were being sustained by agriculture. But now they can no longer go to farms, either because of insecurity or because they have not been encouraged. So what we are going to do to create employment in the rural areas, villages, is to put money in agriculture. Is to make sure, firstly, we encourage the people to go back to farming. And that will definitely stop the hunger in the land. Because presently now, Edo State is above 5 million persons. We have above 5 million persons living in Edo State. But if you look at the farmers that are producing food for people for consumption, they are very few in number. Most of our foods are coming from the north, such as if you check about rice, you check about beans, you check about tomato, onions are all coming from the north. So what I'm going to do, or what my government is going to do when I'm elected, is to make sure to invest on farming, where our young men will go back to farm, our parents will go back to farm. That will reduce unemployment. And not the manual farming we used to do. I'm talking about mechanized farming, whereby factory will be installed like in the places like Agenebode, where we can farm rice. You can talk about Ulushi in Esan.
Right.
You can talk about Ekpoma.
If I can come in now, Dr. Zeme, let me take this to Mr. Dekpo so we can have a robust conversation. And I'll flip this question for you, Mr. Dekpo. In speaking about what you will do if you're elected, by the way, you might want to tell us the margin you're expecting, because I know that political parties do your permutations. You look at the distribution of voters across board. So maybe you want to tell us the margin that your team is projecting for your victory, if that's what you're looking forward to. But my question is flipping it. Which of the policies, programs of this government would you keep if you were to be elected governor?
Well, if I'm elected the governor of Edo State, one of the policies of this government I will keep is the Edo First. The policy is what policy on education, in which we call it Edo Best, in which all secondary schools and primary schools have been digitalized, and there is a very serious monitoring from the central on all government schools. If a child doesn't come to school, there is a call from the central to know why the child is not in school after a period. And each of the teachers, the areas teachers go to school and they go there to sleep, or they break melon and all that, those areas are over. So on agriculture, I will give a thumb up to the governor, and I hope to continue. Also, I was about to say that I believe very, very strongly that if we should have a state-owned cement factory, being that we have limestone littered all over Edo State, then we can build schools and furnish them very beautifully for our people. We can build bridges, we can build tarred roads, because roads made with concrete are far cheaper to build, maintain, and they last longer. They are more durable than the one used with tar. So if I'm given the opportunity, I'm going to make sure that Edo State has its own cement factory, and that will be a prime project in my heart to ensure that we have bridges. What stops Edo State from having a bridge across Agenebode and Ida? We call Edo State the heartbeat of the nation, because it's a major route from the south, from the east, west, and south to the north, and vice versa. So if we have two bridges across the River Niger, all the persons coming from the east, from the west, from the north, south, across Edo State, and vice versa, and all the roads.
Take it to the candidate of a PRP.
Make sure that everybody all over Nigeria will come to Edo State to drop, even if it is pure water or banana or one of the produce we have in Edo State on its way.
Let me take this to the candidate of PRP. Quite interesting point there, leveraging on the positioning of Edo State. Again, this is not a mere academic exercise. These policy alternatives are very important for governance eventually, whoever becomes winner. But let me take this to Ms. Patience Ndidi and speak to what you may have noticed in terms of the gap between the promises and fulfilling the promises. I imagine you sat down to really do an in-depth analysis, because becoming governor is not a child's play. It's a lot of work, right? So I want to imagine you've really done a lot of background work, research, and all of that. What do you think is the major challenge? Because when campaigns are on, promises are made. You hear these promises, you can almost touch them. But then when governance starts, there's that lull, and you begin to wonder, but you promised us these things. You promised us so, and so. And then you realize that 4 years, 8 years have gone, and you're almost back to square one, or even worse off.
in some cases. So have you been able to identify that major challenge? And is that something you might fix? How, if you will fix it, if you're elected governor?
Yeah, thank you. So I will look into special economic zones. Special economic zones, I'm looking at places where areas where we can generate money, where we can generate funds to be able to transform our states. And I will look into agricultural transformation. Agriculture, because it deals with human beings, it deals with technology, it deals with, food supplies. It also deals with trading. Being able to go into mechanized farming is what we need to do. This is not the age and time where people will be given a hoe and hammer or cutlass to go to farm. The world has gone beyond that, and the Edo State must follow suit. So when we look into agriculture, we have a lot of things, cash crops that can be used to generate wealth. These crops can not only give us local or national revenue, but also international. I'll look at two of them. Say rubber. Rubber is used for, we have rubber as a cash crop, as a resource in Edo State. Can be used for gloves, can be used for gloves that are used in a hospital, can be used for tubes that are used in a hospital, for tire and all that. So already, Edo State should be a manufacturing area. It should be a productive area. We should be able to produce this when the resources are being used well, and it will give us revenue from all corners. Another is timber and wood. We have the best of the best wood. We have soft and hard wood. I'm going to create a furniture village in Edo State. Before now, Edo has been big on wood. Look at the artifact that is being returned to Edo State. What are they made of? It's crafts. It's all those things that are made by our own people. So giving Edo indigents and residents the resources, the enabling environment to go into agriculture, to attract them into agriculture, that would be a win-win situation. It will also help to generate jobs. Like we all know, agriculture is always a mainstay. It has always been a mainstay for our economy, and it creates a lot of jobs in any economy. We cannot, so it's a diversity when we go into agriculture, and agriculture will help to actually bring in that revenue that we need.
Yeah, fantastic. Great ideas from all of you. Of course, there's no more time for us to ask more questions, because I wanted to find how much campaign you've done, whether you've covered the entire 192 wards and the local government, 18 of them, and whether you're ready with the war chest that the big parties are bringing on. Because if people don't know you're there, your ideas may be like winking in the dark. But that's why we brought you out to say, okay, these are the other candidates who are running for the governorship seat in Edo State. But I must thank all of you for what you bring to the table. The only female candidate, we will start with you, Patience Ndidioforoke, governorship candidate of the People's Redemption Party. Osaro Medepo, that's of the Boot Party. Dr. Zena Azeme, governorship candidate of the NNPP, as well as Mr. Paul. I should not call him doctor. I don't know. Maybe you need to get a PhD on this one. we called you doctor twice. Mr. Paul Okongbua, the governorship candidate of the Young Progressives Party. Gentlemen and lady, thank you so much for coming on the program, and we wish you the very best next Saturday.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, there you have it, some of the candidates. But we'll switch gears now to continue our coverage of what is going on in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. We'll bring you some update after this break. Join us again.